Well, welcome back to session number 10 of the 7th grade drawing project. This should be our last day on this project, and so I want to get some detailing work done on this and finish my town. My theme here is about all of the jobs that I've had, not all of them, but some of them over the years, and then, representations of that by having signage in the windows, maybe an indication of pizzas over here in the art department, what it was that we lent out to people from our library, our media department. The engineers, I've got a big like a track piece of tracked heavy equipment, a trencher digging out from the upper deck there, and some stuff on my art camp when I was before I became a full-time teacher. I did art camp at Washington Township Rec Center, and I have a little representation of that. So I want to finish out a few things here, and then that is going to be it for the drawing unit with us. This, as far as the drawing grade goes, it will not include coloring for this particular portion of it. In the next unit, we will come back and we will apply all of the information we know about color from that unit into this particular piece of artwork as well. And so it's kind of like a 2-for-1 project. It crosses over both of the units. So today's session will be the last one of it, and then after that it will be time to grade this project, as we have been on it actually for 10 days. So I've been thinking about some ideas that I've had about this, and so when I worked for the Wright State University Student Services Division, I worked with individuals who had been in accidents and had broken their necks, and we helped them a lot around to get back and forth to classes and such. And so what I'm going to put here is like a van, because that was a very common form of transportation back then. And one of my friends had an awesome van. His name was Kevin Leonard. I still see him periodically. So we're going to try to draw something that appears to be a bit of a blocky van in here, and we'll have it come down to about, that's not too bad. Now I'm going to have to do some erasing. Now what I'm doing here is an isometric projection. If you remember that from our lecture, and the isometric projection is where we start with the side view of something, and then we draw lines from the corners in order to make it look three-dimensional. And in this case, I'm trying to draw a van representing the transportation that we use frequently to get around. Okay, that means all of this, unfortunately, beautiful as it is, will have to be erased out. Okay. Yes. And probably better get my handy-dandy technical eraser here and get this out of here. So really, we've done a good job on this project. Sometimes it takes longer than this in the physical classroom, believe it or not. However, I was not able to go around and give everybody advice on their projects in this method either. So it has its limitations. Okay, now let's see if I can make this look like it's a van. And I would have to have a line here as well, and these lines all need to match each other. It's going to be a tight fit in here for this van, because I can only make it go to about right here before it's pressed right up against the edges of the... So maybe I can drop this down a little bit, and we can get a little more, make it look a little wider right there. See, you can manipulate this. Okay, so this is looking more like a modern, like a transit van, That's alright, as long as it's a three-dimensional image of something that appears to be a van of some sort. I will be very satisfied with that. Okay, here we go. Okay, see, now we can lower that a bit. See, that'll help us give it more presence in the alleyway there. Maybe even tilt this back even a little bit more, because it's starting to look a little bit blocky. I might even just trim this down just a tad bit. It's looking a little tall in relationship to some of the other images that surround it. So, okay, now I'm getting somewhere. This appears to be the top of the van here. And we have a line over here as well for the top of the van. Okay. Not bad at all. Now, I got to get back in here with my handy eraser and clean out some of this information so I can bold my lines and continue on with the drawing of the van. Now, I'm going to just say we probably would not be able to see the back tires on this from this point of view, so that's made my job a little bit easier there. Now, we can't see the bottom portion of the tire because, you know, it's hidden by the sidewalk right there. Okay, so I'm going to kind of bold these lines. I'm going to dust this off in a moment here, and yeah, let's get in here and clean this out a little bit more so we can see the drawing. Right now it's tough to see it. Now we know that we can't see through the solid part of the van, but would we be able to see through the window? And I'm going to say yes normally, but in our case we're going to paint that in probably blue, so we won't be able to see it anyway. So that'll be fine. So we can keep it simple, and I think I'm starting to get something that appears to be van-like. So I'm going to continue to just touch up the lines a bit until I get really the shape that I'm looking for there. Okay, so it's starting to shape up here, and I'm starting to get a object that appears to be van-like. Now I think that this line right here is a little bit out of kilter. It needs to be more like this. Okay, so let's see what we got. So that's starting to look like a van. I'm okay with this. Now we gotta have probably a door in our van, I suppose. So it would be probably somewhere like this. It's all kind of in the details a lot of times anyway, right? And then it comes down like this. Yeah, this might look familiar from the drawing notes. I'm betting you're saying, I remember that, except it was a truck in the drawing notes, and you're right. But, yeah, it's good to make, it makes all of this, you know, just that much more believable. And, by the way, I did have a van when I delivered pizzas. It's ironic that it was a VW van. It was terrible. It hardly ever ran. I pushed a lot. Huh. It's funny that I'd put the van right next to the pizza place, and also the Wright State Student Services Division. They had a van that transported a lot of people around in. Although I was not a driver of those vans, I simply was an assistant to people that were being driven in those vans. Okay. That looks pretty good. Now we can maybe put maybe a little bit more information on here to make it a little more understandable. So maybe a hood on our van. Okay, very good. With the hood. And that hood probably would come down a little bit. Be visible right there, I'm betting. So we can kind of lighten that one line. I don't know if I like that or not. I have to change that. But it was looking okay when I first started. And let's put some headlights on this. Van, little ovals. And probably need some sort of a bumper on it as well, so we'll try to make an indication that there is a solid object right there below the edge. And that's, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep the bumper. I'm going to get rid of this part. That messes with me. I'll just draw it back the way it was. I think it looked better. Sometimes you just have to quit trying to make everything perfect. Okay, so we've got our van coming out from between the pizza delivery place and the Student Service Division, right at State University, back in the 80s. Boy, that was a long, long time ago, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I think I need to touch that line up too. It's messing with my head. There we go. There we go. Hold this line. Hold this line. Hold this line. Hold this line. And then, let's see, what else? I think that's probably all I need for this. So this is a way you can like put cars, and they can be bigger than this. Now if you have them going from the alleyways, much easier to draw them. If you try to have them going up and down the street, it's much more complex, and to be honest, it rarely comes out right. So I'm going to fix that one headlight there, and this part of this drawing that really I should not have messed with because I had it looking good. But so see, what I can do now is I can make this a little bit more convincing by putting a bigger set of headlights on it there. So that's what I'm going to do, and then move on to something else. Because at the end of the session, I've got to get that last building labeled up as one of my jobs, and that's going to be the job of being an art teacher. Is what that one is going to be. And I've been doing that since, I guess, about 1996 is when I got my certification to teach. So I've been going on a while. It's just been a long time. It's almost hard to remember. This has been an interesting exercise for me because it's hard for me to remember what I used to do before I became an art teacher sometimes. My brother always said, though, my stepbrother always said that I'd be involved in art somehow or another. I always told him it's crazy. I was going to be in the military forever. Okay, so we got our van. Let's move on down here. Something else we can put in the Student Services Division. Let's see, I don't know what we could do there. I'm trying to come here. Oh, we could just put in the letters of the school. That would be fantastic. And so if we kind of split them up a little bit like this, then we can fit them well inside of there. So this would be W. It could be tougher than it looks because they're distorted, see? They're foreshortened, meaning they're turned in space, and that's what causes them to look funny. Okay, but that's alright. Okay, so that one looks good, and then this one would be just slightly larger. Okay. Okay, and then this one would be, of course, slightly larger. So we have to keep the perspective portion of this working, or it doesn't make any sense. It's what we call a logical disconnection. Okay, yeah, I could have, you know, I might one of these days do one of these on all the places I think I've lived since I was a child. That would be a crazy exercise. Okay, so I'm not completely happy with that W, so I'm gonna try to fix that up. But up here, see, I can put like a little serif on these to make it look more official, and give that a little bit more gravitas, meaning thicken it up a bit there. And that one looks pretty good. I'll get my fancy eraser out and clean up my layout work. I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay, that's good. Okay, then we're going to work on this S, and it also can have some little fancy serifs on it as well. Maybe right here, and one down here as well. Makes it look a little bit more official as a letter of a institution of higher learning. Okay, so I think I'll just clean up my layout work there as well. So I worked at Wright State as in the Student Services Division, and also I worked at Wright State in the Art Department Media Center. And man, they didn't pay me much, but I learned a lot, and made some connections and some friends that I still have contact with after all those years. Okay, let's fix up that W so it's a little more visually attractive. Doesn't feel left out. Okay, there we go. Now, see, the thing is, these smaller letters, because these are actually large letters, but they are small in the portion of the drawing. Now, this will have little capitals on it as well, for serifs, and they'll be kind of turned at an angle there. It's Wright State University. I guess if I had to go back and relive a portion of my life again, that would probably be it. Time in college. Okay, so there we go. Washington State University, or Wisconsin State University, or, you know, Wyoming State University could be as well. And there is a tiny little smudge that is driving me crazy down there on the other side of the W. Okay, well, it's time to get down to the last building on this street and get it taken care of. That is my current job that I'm right now doing with you all here that are tuned into this. And so let's see if we can't focus that a little bit better. And that does look a little bit better, and because I know this is far away. Now, if you're working on your own project like I am myself, you can see what you're drawing in here, but kind of in a drawing class like we're in right now, it's kind of difficult to check it out. And so let's I just got to keep on drawing. I wonder if we can experiment with the zoom. Let's experiment with the zoom. Maybe one more time. Okay, well, you can kind of see down here now, so I will continue to operate right here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so the current job that I have as a art teacher, I've been doing this, of course, for now since 1996. I got the actual current job that I'm working on as the art teacher here at Warner Middle School in 1999 from a dear friend who is now passed on. His name was Gail Adkins. He was the principal here for many, many years, and he was a good guy, and so he interviewed me and I was able to get that job, and that was in, I'm going to say, 1999, and well, that was across the street. It turned 2000 in the same year. It was 99, 2000, so I'll just write 2000 on here, and that way I've got it going from the 80s through the 90s and all the way into the new millennium. And so it was by the end of the school year that year, it was the year 2000. Everybody thought there was going to be, everything was going to go crazy, and I'm going to simply tag that in as Warner Middle School, I think, art. How am I going to put that in there? I don't know if it'll even fit. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a flag up here on my steeple, and I'm going to fly that flag, and I'm going to put in it the Warner Middle School initials. Okay, and we'll just simply hook this together like that, and that flag is up there. That tall thing in town. Okay. What I'm going to also do is erase that portion of my cloud, which I'm going to find to be a distraction to my flag there. And clean this up in the middle. That's going to... Okay, so here, see, sometimes you just got to come up with these creative solutions to this. So we're going to have our flag You will be flying and flapping in the breeze this way, just like over here, but I've only got 3 letters to put into it, so it's going to be WMS. So I'm going to try to make them all the same size. Okay. And we're trying to make it also look like it's the letters are kind of twisting in the wind a bit. Although at this scale it's kind of difficult to do. Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing there now. See, that's the problem with zooming. So we'll have to zoom back to where we came from. So that's an appropriate zoom level. So what I did was here, sorry for the disruption. I was struggling to figure out where I was going to put Warner Middle School in all this, and so I just added a flag up here, very much like the flag over here. And I put in my the initials here of our school. And I've been teaching at this school ever since the individual I was just discussing, Gail Adkins, hired me back in 1999. So for the 99-2000 school year. So by the time I was done that school year, the millennium, the century, the decade, my first year as a full-time teacher had all expired by that time. It all happened in that one school year. So I'm marking it off as 2000, so I got my even numbers on one side of the road and my odd numbers on the other side of the road. All right, now let's see. We'll just call this down here Warner Middle School, and I'll just write art in this window down here. Now I got my windows in and that little place down in there, so this little zoomed in portion of it, that really is actually quite helpful to see it at that in this particular magnification. So I've kind of run out of things to do in this town. I may actually change this by the time you see it again, but you know, I'm going to go ahead and just continue to do a few more decorative things in this town to make it interesting. And so one of those things is like putting a manhole cover out here in the middle of the street somewhere. And it needs to be about the appropriate size. You can't have the giant manhole cover out there or this tiny little one. No one will know what it means. And and they usually have like little holes in them so they can vent. We can also do things like put some, for instance, at the media center here, maybe we've got a sliding door or a, no, that would probably happen over here, wouldn't it? So we would put like maybe one of these pressure sensors that when you step on it or you roll onto it with a wheelchair perhaps, the door will slide open for you. And that's quite helpful as well. So that would be something like, and it's just a rhombus, really. It's quite simple. Most of this is really quite simple. Okay, so, but it really adds character to the project. So maybe in a window over here, put in sort of perhaps up here a flower and a little flower pot. So it's just like two sad faces nested together, and then it tilts, and because it's above our line of sight, we can't see the bottom of it because it's in the windowsill, and we can't see down inside of it because it's above our line of sight, see? So a little plant in there. It's always looks like an aloe plant or something growing in there. There's a nice little Nice little addition, and maybe something in here, perhaps a flower box. Now it seems like this is below halfway, so we might actually be able to see a little bit of this, portion of this right here. But that's about it, so we're going to just put some random markings in there because we're going to put some flowers on these. Like that. So now I'm going to have to zoom out again because I'm talking and I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. So what I've been doing, let's focus again. What I've been doing is, for instance, I went over here and I put a flower pot up in the window, and I'm putting some a box, like a window box in here, so there's some flowers in it. So if you're following along with this, then you've been listening to me discuss it, and that's good too. But it is good to work at magnification sometimes. It just makes making the video a little bit more problematic sometimes. So I'm glad we're back to the actual real scale of this. So you just got to keep putting, petals on your flowers and stuff, and just keep finishing it out so it's an interesting drawing, and it's got things happening in like the alleyways and this door, for instance, and maybe over here a car coming or going, and people in the streets. I don't know, I haven't even gone to putting people in my streets, but you could have people in your streets as well. So it's just you have to be creative. Also, people I see, students pretty frequently will put, the markings on the sidewalks that, go kind of straight sideways. So each little portion of the sidewalk, where it's there's an expansion joint in there. So that can also be something you might want to consider doing too. A lot of people think it really enhances the three-dimensionality of it. I'm not so sure about that. I like, when I've got stuff flowing out of here, I like to put in a storm drain. So a storm drain is one of these, it's a grating that's on the curb where the storm water goes into it. Okay, so it's got bars. It's a steel grating. Something like that there. So that is represents my storm drain, but I think I gotta have my bars a little bit heavier there. They look a little thin. That's a little bit more. You don't want cats getting in and out of it. There we go. It looks pretty good. And so you just keep on going through it and looking for stuff that you can add into it to make it a little bit more visually interesting to yourself and to your viewers as well. And that is starting to get, I'm going to say, there's a lot going on in this picture right now. So I might maybe do something way back in here, like, put a little indication of a road that's kind of snaking its way through the mountainsides and down there, and so it would be very skinny up here, and it would only get slightly wider because it's so very far away. And so it would get wider though as it comes down the mountain. I've had kids put tiny little trucks and stuff down in there, and little houses up on the mountain tops and stuff before. So we've seen all kinds of interesting stuff over the years here. Let's see, if there's something else I could do to this, what would it be? It would probably be at the pizza place, because we got a pizza oven in that place. Man, everything smelled like pizza. Everything smelled like pizza in that place. And your clothes smelled like pizza when we were done for the day, and your car smelled like pizza, and it was a lot of pizza odor, is all I can say. But we got to eat a lot of pizza, so if you like pizza, then that's great. But after a while, I didn't like pizza so much. I got kind of tired of it. let's see here. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a... Alright, well, I'll tell you what, that's probably going to be it for our drawing unit there. So, that bell is going to be the end of it. So it looks like we've gone about 30 minutes there. Get it cleaned up, get it straightened up. We're going to put it together and we are going to grade it. Have a nice day. It's been a good unit. Have a nice day.